The scream cut through the noise of the street like a knife. "Please don't leave me." The Hell's Angel had already kicked his bike to life. The engine growled beneath him, a sound that usually made people step back, look away, pretend they didn't see him. He was used to fear. He wore it like his leather jacket, patched, scarred, unmistakable. But this time, the sound didn't drown out the voice. It was small, broken, desperate. His gloved hand froze on the throttle. Slowly, he turned his head. A little boy stood on the curb, barefoot, clutching a torn backpack to his chest. His face was streaked with dirt and tears, his shoulders shaking as if the weight of the world had already found him far too early. Around them, people passed by. Some glanced, most didn't. No one stopped. Except the man everyone expected to be the danger. The biker cut the engine. The sudden silence felt heavy. "What did you say, kid?" he asked, his voice rough from years of smoke and regret. The boy swallowed hard. "Please don't leave me. Everyone else does." Those words hit harder than any fist ever had. The biker swung his leg off the bike. He was huge, broad shoulders, thick beard, tattoos crawling up his arms like stories written in ink. To the boy, he must have looked terrifying. Yet the child didn't step back. He just stood there, eyes wide, like he'd already lost everything and fear no longer mattered. The man crouched down, ignoring the ache in his knees. "Where's your mom? Your dad?" The boy shook his head. "Mom's gone. Dad said he'd come back. He didn't." Something in the biker's chest cracked open. His name was Jack Graves Malone, a name earned the hard way. 42 years old. Hell's Angels for over 2 decades. He'd buried friends, enemies, and parts of himself he never expected to miss. He'd learned one rule in life: don't get attached. Attachment made you weak. Attachment got people killed. Yet here was a kid who had just shattered that rule with 7 words. "What's your name?" Jack asked. "Eli." Jack nodded slowly. "All right, Eli. You hungry?" The boy hesitated, then nodded again. Jack stood, scanning the street. A diner sat across the road. Cheap food, flickering sign, the kind of place people like Jack didn't usually take kids. He motioned with his head. "Come on." Inside the diner, conversations quieted. Forks paused mid-air. Eyes followed the biker and the child sliding into a booth. Jack felt the stares but ignored them. He ordered pancakes, eggs, sausage, milk. When the food arrived, Eli stared like it was a miracle. "You can eat," Jack said gently. Eli didn't need to be told twice. As the boy ate, Jack listened. Eli talked about sleeping behind the grocery store, about teachers who stopped asking where his parents were, about social workers who promised help and never came back. Each sentence added weight to Jack's chest, pressing on memories he'd locked away. Jack had been 9 when his own father disappeared. One night of yelling, a slammed door, and then nothing. His mother worked herself into the ground until she broke. Jack learned early that the world didn't stop for broken kids. It just kept moving. "Why are you being nice to me?" Eli asked suddenly, syrup on his chin. Jack didn't have an answer ready. He wiped the kid's face with a napkin, surprising himself. Maybe because someone should have been nice to me once. After the meal, Jack faced the question he'd been avoiding. "Eli, I can't just take you." Eli's smile faded. Panic rushed back into his eyes. "I'll be quiet. I won't be any trouble. I promise." The words felt like a punch. Jack ran a hand through his beard. "That's not what I meant, kid. There are rules. People who check things." "But you said don't get attached," Eli whispered, misreading his hesitation as rejection. Jack froze. "I didn't say that." "My dad did." Silence stretched between them. Jack exhaled slowly. "Listen to me. I'm not leaving you today. That's a promise. We'll figure out the rest." Eli nodded, though fear still clung to him like a shadow. Jack made calls he hadn't made in years. Old connections. One to a woman who ran a youth shelter. Another to a lawyer who owed him a favor. It wasn't clean. It wasn't fast. But for once, Jack didn't ride away. Days turned into weeks. Jack visited the shelter every evening. At first, Eli ran to him every time, terrified he'd vanish. Jack never missed a night. Slowly, the boy's shoulders relaxed. His laughter came easier. He started calling Jack Graves at first, then Jack. The Hells Angels noticed the change. Jack skipped runs, missed fights, left early. Some laughed. Some warned him. One night, his club president pulled him aside. "You getting soft?" Jack looked back toward the shelter building across the street, where Eli pressed his face to the window, waiting. "No," Jack said. "I'm getting real." The real test came when Eli's father resurfaced. Drunk, angry, claiming his rights. Jack stood outside the courtroom, fists clenched, every violent instinct screaming to be unleashed. But he stayed still. He let the system work. For once, it did. Eli stayed. Months later, Jack signed papers he never thought he'd sign. His name trembled on the line. Adoption. Responsibility. Love. The first night Eli slept in Jack's apartment, surrounded by leather jackets and old photographs, he whispered, "You really didn't leave." Jack sat on the edge of the bed. "I never will." Years passed. People still crossed the street when they saw Jack ride by. They still saw the patches, the scars, the hardened face. They didn't see the man who helped with homework, who burned pancakes on Sunday mornings, who stood in the rain at school plays.
Eli grutayer.
Stronger. Kinder. One afternoon, as Jack's bike roared to life outside their home, Eli stood watching. For a moment, fear flickered across his face. Jack killed the engine and smiled. "I'm just going to the store." Eli nodded, then smiled back. "I know. You always come back." Jack pulled him into a hug, holding on longer than necessary. Sometimes, the most dangerous-looking people carry the softest hearts. Sometimes, the smallest voices change the hardest lives. And sometimes, all it takes to save two souls is one moment, when someone chooses to get off the bike instead of riding away. Because leaving is easy. Staying is what takes courage.